Hello, my name is Christensen, and I will be presenting upon Cynthia Cooper's story, a story where one follows the steps suggested by Trevino and Nilsson in their book called Managing Business Ethics. Now there's 7 steps suggested by Trevino and Nilsson. The first being you approach your immediate manager first, if you can, when in the process of whistleblowing. Now that's just following politics. You go to your leader, you don't go above them. That way you keep the order of business correctly. Now 2, the second suggestion is discuss the issue with your family. Now I find that fascinating, and we'll discuss that later on how that is a part of the whistleblowing process. Step 3 is to take it to the next level. Now that means say your supervisor is in with the scheme of fraud, you don't go to them. You need to go to the next level. And so there's technical ways is to do that. Now number 4 is to contact your company's ethics officer. Hopefully your company has one, especially from these kind of experiences, that they will at least enable that. But in this case, it didn't necessarily apply to Cynthia and her situation, so I won't be discussing too much on that matter. Now step 5 is consider going outside your chain of command. That might be necessary in extreme situations in which Cynthia had to do, for her whole chain of command was kind of part of the scheme with WorldCom. 6 is go outside of your company for aid, for help. In this case, Cynthia Cooper went to Arthur Andersen and Enron, the outside auditors, where she was able to seek some advice and help, but more specifically from KPMG. Step number 7 is leaving the company. If all else fails, you might just need to step away from it. Now Cynthia, bless her heart, she did not do that, but she went through the whole grueling process of being the whistleblower at WorldCom. So in specifics, in slide 3, I have it in 3 different scenarios. I'm first going to discuss steps 1 and 3 and how they kind of tie together. And once again, that's approaching your immediate manager and taking it to the next level in case they are a part of it. Now, I first want to talk about Gene Morse. Gene Morse is part of Cynthia Cooper's internal audit team. Now, he first caught wind of this $500 million entry that he thought was suspicious and brought it to Cynthia. Now that's a great example of going to your direct supervisor. That led into more investigation. That even led to the presentation to a Mr. Sullivan, who was Cynthia Cooper's direct supervisor. Now there's different areas of where they communicated. He went and found her in a hair salon. That was a way of where they were following politics, but even led to further investigation that they needed to not just go, but go to the next level. And that's where Mr. Myers comes into place. Cynthia approached Mr. Myers in a string of emails and even into face-to-face conversations where she tried to find details on certain transactions, of which she later found out was fraudulent. Now step 2 of where I mentioned is interesting, of communicating with family. Now, being a family man, I see it's important that you need to communicate to your family. But what Cynthia went through and others of just distress. They were unhappy, they were short-tempered, they were losing weight, they just didn't look good. It takes a toll on people who go out and are actual whistleblowers. And just the psychological effects, I wouldn't wish upon anybody. Now step 5 and 6. Once again, this is considered going outside your chain of command for help, as well as going outside your company if needs be. And Cynthia did just that. She went to Arthur Andersen, where they got caught in the Enron scandal, so she thought that was even more suspicious, so she checked the audit even more, which led into KPMG, who got the account and talked to them. And it's very admiring of Cynthia to be able to go out there and to kind of head on this situation that she found herself in. The other thing that Cynthia did was meet with a Mr. Bobbitt, who was the head of the audit committee. She went trying to seek advice and see what she should do in this kind of a situation. And she even led into her talking with the SEC and even the FBI, later on in the investigation. And another thing that I wanted to talk about, away from Trevino and Nelson, is Badaracco. Now, he has a document of where he shared of why we don't need another hero. In here, he has 3 principles that I want to talk on. First is quiet moral leadership. Second, pick your battles. And third, bend the rules but don't break them. So first, quiet moral leadership. Cynthia was superb with this. Her peers saw her as one who was a little bit quieter, however she was stern. She knew what was right. She didn't have to go barking orders all around and just be boisterous about it, but she had a subtlety about herself that demanded attention, that demanded respect from her peers, from her leaders, and is very admirable. The second principle is pick your battles and do it wisely. You got to be tactful in the approaches. Cynthia, she even did role plays with Mr. Morse on how they would react to certain answers to their questions, more specifically to like Mr. Myers. I thought that was very smart of them to do, to not get caught off guard, but to continue tactfully and to lead the conversation. The third principle is bend the rules and not break them. Now, Cynthia was given direct orders not to pursue her investigation. She still did. They kept information away from them that they asked for. It's kind of bending the rules, but they did what they needed to do. So in conclusion to this presentation, being a whistleblower is not an easy task. It's very daunting. It takes a lot of moral courage to be able to do what individuals do, such as Cynthia and her team. It takes a toll on many lives, not only on the whistleblower, but the company, the shareholders, the whole gamut of people. But it is important to be ethical, and you need to stand up for what is right. So once again, Cynthia Cooper did do the right thing. Thank you.